All right, welcome. My name is Bob Glazer. I'm the Managing Director of Acceleration Partners. We're a performance marketing agency that manages programs for large brands. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves. We know you got you guys up early this morning, so we'll try to make this as interactive as possible. If you have questions, if you guys want to come up to front corner, it's tough being right after breakfast. But let me let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll just jump right in. And again, if you have any questions, we'd love to make this as useful as possible for you. Alex.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Is this on? Awesome. Good job. My name is Alec McNeese. I'm a partnerships manager with Yieldify. Yieldify was actually founded in London. We opened up a New York office about a year ago. So I work right up the street, which takes you about 10 minutes to walk there, even though it's 2 blocks away, right through Times Square. Yieldify is an on-site abandonment solution. So essentially what we do is we monitor user behavior on a website, look at every event that's taking place, and our core technology revolves around exit intent. So monitoring when someone is going to abandon the site, re-engage with them with some sort of an enticing message in order to enable them to convert. So that's our core technology. We have several other different products that we work with, and primarily we operate as a performance marketing company through virtually every network that's out there, which is why we're here at Affiliate Summit.
Hi, my name is Todd Crawford. I'm a co-founder of Impact Radius. We're a marketing technologies company. We have a suite of solutions that we sell to advertisers and agencies. We offer an affiliate marketing solution. We offer a solution to track all of their advertisers' media. We have a tag management solution, a mobile solution, as well as an attribution solution. We're headquartered in Santa Barbara, California. We have offices here in New York, in London, and in Cape Town, South Africa. We were formed in 2008.
Morning, folks. My name is Nick Lamoth. I'm kind of representing the brand angle of the panel today. Currently work for the Adidas Group, focused on e-commerce management, marketing management on the Reebok brand right now. And over the course of the last 4 years, I've kind of split time between the Reebok and the Adidas brands, managing a number of different marketing programs and channels, but one of them including the affiliate channel. So.
Great. So kicking it off sort of at the top, Todd, maybe we'll start with you on this. But as companies are looking for setting up a global affiliate or performance marketing program, what are the factors that they should think about in terms of choosing their partners, whether it's technology or agency or otherwise, if they're getting set up?
Wow. Okay, here I go. Well, the first thing is obviously which countries you're going into, and you may not need to go into if you're going from the U.S. to Europe or vice versa. It may not be you want to maybe take it in small bites and obviously have a good strategy around how you're going to get into those countries and what you're looking for from results. But from a technology solution, you want to be able to track and pay in the currency where your partners are residing. So if you're in the U.S. and you have a U.K. publisher and a German publisher, you have to be able to pay them in pounds and euros. So you want to make sure the vendor that you're using, or if you're building a solution, that you have that kind of multi-currency capability, because you want to impact the affiliate's earnings as little as possible. When you go to give them the equivalent of $100 US, you don't want them to get the equivalent of 80 or 90, because then they're taking a haircut. So that's probably the biggest piece. And language can be a plus, having a translated UI for your affiliates. I mean, the good news is most people that are professionals on the internet are used to seeing things in English, so you should be fairly well off there, but really want to make sure you have a good infrastructure. I always tell advertisers to kind of be very methodical, like make a list of things you want, questions that you have, for a vendor or a network, just so that you make sure that you're getting the same questions and data points across your possible solutions, so that you have a really good comparison.
When an affiliate is operating on your platform and they earn a commission, do they earn it in the local? They earn it and are paid in the local currency? Is that what you were saying?
Well, there's two ways. So let's say I'm not a retailer, I'm doing a lead gen. So I want to pay in the US $20 a lead. I can create an insertion order with a UK publisher and pay them £15. And so it says £15 and the publisher gets 15. If I gave them a $20, it would give them the equivalent of, let's say, the conversion rate equaled 15 pounds, and they can pick their reporting currency. So the publisher may be seeing all their data in pounds and the advertiser in dollars. So, but in a percent of sale, 10% of 100, we have to know that's 100 US dollars, and then we convert that to the publisher through a daily or intraday exchange rate that we subscribe to, so that we can say, okay, well, this $100 equals 80 pounds, and they're getting 10% of that, so that's an 8-pound commission. And then when the dollars actually move out, the advertiser is usually funding in US dollars, and then we're pushing out the funds from a UK bank into a UK bank, so that there's no, they're getting the exact amount. Yeah.
So, Alec, from your perspective as an affiliate operating in multiple countries, what are the things that are helpful to you, or what do you guys look for in terms of setting up partnerships and working with merchants?
Sure. So honestly, I think one of the most important things is to literally have troops on the ground in the country, or at least have very good relationships with someone that is established in the country that you're going to, because there's so many minor things that can have such a major impact when it comes down to it. So, for example, Yieldify is established in the UK. We have a major London office. There's about 120 people there. We set up shop here in the US about a year ago, and we thought, you know what, we're going to just basically redo everything that we're doing in the UK here in the United States. Think, yeah, same language, similar markets. When it comes down to it, major differences. Even just thinking about the things like, how do you spell favorite? Oh, with a U instead of just F-A-V-O-R-I-T, right? E. Should finish that one up. So like minor things like that, they go a very long way. So in my opinion, knowing the culture, having relationships there is crucial, because those minor things can have a major impact when it comes down to it.
I think this exact same thing for the advertiser as well.
Yeah, actually was going to say this. So like in our structure, we've got folks in each market where we have an e-commerce presence that are running the program, but then we try to put in some sort of best practices at the global level to get the learnings that you can take and kind of apply regardless of market. But I was actually going to ask you, so whereas you're going to try to say, you want to have folks on the ground in each market you operate in, who are they? So if you're operating in a system where they only, the advertisers or the brands only have a global presence, like how do you try to bridge that gap? So if you came to a brand and we're headquartered in the US and we've got e-commerce markets, presence in markets all over, but we really don't have a specialist in that market.
Yeah, so I mean, it is pretty tough to do, because obviously someone like us, we're a smaller company, so you can't afford to have people everywhere, right? So in our UK office, we actually have representation for Turkey, Italy, Spain, virtually every major market that's in Europe. They all sit in our London office, but they at least speak the language. Mm-hmm. They know the market. So when it comes down to it, at least they're speaking the same language, literally, but they also know the market very well. So it's pretty tough, obviously, operating globally, but one of the things that we were talking about before we actually got started here was the difference between being international and global, right? So Yieldify is an international company in the fact that we have offices in different areas, but we want to be more global when it comes down to it, in the fact that you actually do have representation all over the place, and you do have, basically you have employees that speak the actual language of the countries that you're operating in.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good example is a lot of U.S. companies move to Europe, and Todd alluded this to before, but we see a lot of people sort of expand a lot and sort of miss the 80-20 rule. And they say we want to be in Europe, and they go up in Europe. But I think the stat is that 70% of the e-commerce or affiliate in Europe is in UK, Germany, and France. But sort of, and Nick, you could probably speak to this too. I think, but people launch, and they launch in every country, Italy, Spain, and set up all those relationships. And so I guess I'll direct this to Todd and or Nick. So what have you seen sort of from the 80-20 rule in that respect, as an example, like kind of setting up in Europe, and what's the right level of effort? When can you have someone in London handle Spain until there's enough thing, or should you just stay out of it and then go in there with Spanish-speaking on-the-ground troops?
Well, the one thing I see is, often the corporate level or the the CMO or the marketing department says we're going into these 5, European markets, an affiliate team is like, yeah, let's go. We're in on this too, and they get kind of caught up in that. And I think, to kind of be more methodical and maybe say we're gonna stagger going into these countries. We're gonna take one country at a time and we're gonna prioritize it. I think having a good plan, because a lot of people think, well, we know what we're doing in America. We've been doing it for 5 years, so we're just gonna jump right into the UK. It's the same language. We'll just do what we're doing here. It doesn't always work out that way, and then they end up getting suboptimal results. Okay, sure.
You have it.
All right, so that was a little guy in the back that I hired to keep everybody on their toes. So one of the things I think is important is understand, what your company thinks they're going to be doing in that market, what percentage you should get, and you need to validate your numbers. The good news is if you're familiar with the U.S., most affiliate programs have maybe 25 affiliates that drive 95% of the revenue. If you go into the UK or Germany, it might only be 10 or 20 that are going to drive that, and it's not a mystery. So you can either have an agency or a consultant or go to a conference or talk to a peer in that country and probably get a good list, and then reach out to all of them and say, what do you know about our brand? How do you think it would respond? Can we, what kind of results do you think you would drive? And you have a conversation with 20 guys and you get kind of some estimates there, some realistic estimates. And then you can kind of better kind of set your goals as opposed to kind of going in going, we're a huge brand in the US and we're just going to come into the UK and, people are going to love us.
Yeah, Nick, you guys have changed doing a lot of different ways over the years, right?
Yeah, so the way that it's handled with the Adidas group, and they do this not just for the affiliate channel or different marketing programs, but they do it for e-commerce in general. The way they roll out into different markets is when you're a mature market and you can sustain an e-commerce business by yourself. So you've got a large enough revenue stream, you've got experts in the market who can run the channels and operate the platforms and kind of check the list of everything you need to really build a healthy business. Then you're autonomous and you can run that market. And so the U.S., obviously we have our own site and team, and we've got almost 30 folks just on the Reebok brand and 20-something folks on the Adidas brand. So really heavily invested in the resource side of it. But then when you look at emerging markets, the way they operate is we have a center of excellence that sits in Amsterdam, and they help launch in newer markets or immature markets, help get them up to a point of sustainability, and then if or when it warrants, they'll hand off the keys to a market team. So right now we've got a team, again, in Amsterdam that's running the affiliate program for like all of Europe, with the exception of a couple of markets. So I think the UK might have their own instance, but most of the other markets all just sit in this, like with this Amsterdam team. But very easily you could see, because that global center of excellence also technically operates in every market. Let's say we're going to start launching something in an Asian market, an Asian country. They might get it up and running, and now they're operating an affiliate program for 5 different countries in Asia, and one of them all of a sudden steps up and is so advanced that they can run it themselves. They can kind of step away and have their own program. So they kind of use, like to your point, of like a rollout strategy of let's leverage best practices and try to learn what we can enough. Yeah, we're not going to necessarily be experts in every country, but we can have the knowledge and the background to get it to a point where it's running and we have some kind of a program in place. And then as it continues to grow, we can hand it off and it can be in a place that's not starting from zero in that market.
How do you guys determine when to sort of be in a market and when to do it remotely versus, get in there? Like you were saying before, I think you guys realized you tried to do the U.S. remotely for a while and you need to be here.
Well, I mean, it's a very crucial decision because obviously it's a big investment to actually put troops on the ground, like I said earlier. So right now we're kind of at a toss-up with, do we want to expand to Brazil? Do we actually put people in Brazil? Do we build out a team there? Or do we manage it from the UK, right? Things like time zones, right, are so important. The fact that you need to be on the same time zone to really do business and communicate properly. Really when it comes down to it is you need to think about what makes the most sense cost-wise and revenue-wise. Where does the profitability lie? So for us, like I said, we have basically teams that run every market in Europe out of our UK office, but we have branched out to opening up a remote office in Berlin, small one in Spain, right? The whole idea there is the fact that those face-to-face meetings are so important when it comes down to it, that they can drive so much incremental revenue for us that you actually need to have people physically there. I don't know exactly what our finance team says about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
is it profitable? We don't know. But really, it's if you're trying to make a major impact there, you really do want to blow up in that country. It does make sense. What that number is, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it really does make sense that you need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that. I've seen this on the agency side too, in terms of platforms such as Impact Radius have, which will let you be anywhere. Sometimes that's sort of a double-edged sword, because you think that, hey, we could turn this on and we can be in somewhere. And I mean, the analogy I give is that if you had a global tax preparation platform that did a lot of the work, you could certainly turn it on in every country, but you'd have to learn a lot about taxes in Europe or Ireland or whatever to be able to process returns on that platform. And I think, just to give some perspective on the agency side to what these guys are talking about, there are really, traditionally, full service affiliate networks have not been strong in. Someone who was number one in one country was likely not even in the top 5 in another country. Even if you looked at UK and Europe, they might, a network that's here might be there, but if you just look on size and volume. So if you just followed your single network around, because they suggested that, you might be with a number one player here and a much smaller player here. But I've seen the same dynamic too on the agency side, and then I think I always say that marketing companies are good at marketing, and it's one thing to be wary about. But agencies are smaller than networks. There's really no one that has a dominant presence in one market and a strong presence in the other one. So what you see is agencies that are based out of one place and probably have a contractor, in Europe, which is not, to me, that's not being in market, kind of to what you said, the presence of, okay, so we have a contractor and they do some stuff, but we're not in market. I'm not at the conference. We're not meeting with people. We're not out there with a presence. So that's sort of one misperception of being in that market, rather than them saying, hey, look, we do X and this person does Y, and we can work together. And then the flip side I've seen too, where there are global agencies that have offices and footprints in all of these markets, and they go out there and they say, hey, we can manage your global affiliate program on Impact Radius. But it's kind of the same issue. There's an office in that country, but there's not an affiliate team in that country. So you grab someone from the display team and you say, all right, now we've got an affiliate manager for your program. So you guys have probably seen this, being on the other side of this, and you talk to someone who doesn't understand affiliate program. So then I've seen people say, oh, we have this global affiliate program. We have people in LA and New York and London and Singapore, and you look and it's like 6 people in these offices and these nice companies, but 5 of them have never worked on an affiliate program before. And so one person covering London from an agency is not a practice, right?
Yeah,
So, and I don't know if you've seen this, in terms of dealing with it.
I think one of the things that just makes me think about is the difference in perception of what affiliate really does bring to a company in the U.S. versus elsewhere.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think there's a lack of knowledge about how important an affiliate program is in the U.S. Whereas in the U.K., everyone knows, like, this is our most profitable channel when it comes to marketing. So for me, being an on-site technology, I have a lot of decision makers that I need to bring into the conversation. In the UK, when I deal with an affiliate manager, they can oftentimes.
Who are they? So give a pro, like in the UK, like what does an affiliate manager look like? Are they, if they're in-house, what do they look like? Or if they're in an agency, what does that look like? How have you seen that different than here?
So one of the major things that I think is different abroad, or at least I'll speak to the UK versus the US, is that the affiliate channel plays into their overall marketing strategy. Whereas in the US, it's almost an afterthought. So when I deal with an affiliate manager that's in the UK, they can make the decision. They can say, yes, we can bring on this technology. We can add that tag to our site because I work with my development team.
Yeah.
And we can help, we can make this technology work towards our KPIs. In the US, if I deal with an affiliate manager, they've got to work it up the ladder to, director of digital, and then onto the VP of marketing or VP of e-commerce, whatever it might be. And to be honest with you, I think that in the US, there might be less experience when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Either that, or they're more afraid of voicing their opinion and saying, look, like, the affiliate marketing channel needs to play into the overall strategy.
Yeah.
I just think there's a misalignment in certain situations. I don't know, I mean, I guess from a advertiser perspective, what role do you play in, and how does your strategy align with the rest of the marketing team?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate that I get a little bit of autonomy and I can make those decisions on, what partners we want to work with and how we want to roll it out. We still have I don't have to build a business case to say I want to work with this kind of technology and they're going to operate on our affiliate channel. My big constraint is just IT resources. So all of our IT resources are a global shared resource that support multiple brands. So Adidas, Reebok, TaylorMade, all of our kind of brands, and in all these markets. So something very simple like adding a tag, and we have a tag management solution too. So it should be like flip the switch.
Yeah.
It's put in a request, add a ticket, and we'll get back to you in 2 weeks. And it's like that's where we're resource constraint. It's much less of a, hey, I need to build a case as to how this is going to work, and is it going to be incremental, and how are we going to evaluate that? Like, I can do that part myself, and as long as I'm confident in that decision, I can say, hey, we need to add this tag to this page. Here's the ticket. Get back to me in 2 weeks, and that's how that. Yeah.
Todd, you guys operate globally. Are you sitting at the table with different level of people if you're sitting in a conversation here versus?
Well, I mean, to tie into
Yeah.
what both these guys said, I think in the US, when you're managing affiliate, there's like a box that's what an affiliate is. And when you get something outside of the box, it's kind of like, the affiliate manager kind of goes, well, do I need approval? This is outside of, where in the UK, in particular, they're working with retargeting publishers, they're working, with Yieldify here, and they're working with a lot of different types of companies that could be any type of partner. They could be a straight media buy, they could be a technology license, they could be a CPM buy or a CPC buy, and they're putting them under performance marketing. Because there's an interesting thing that someone mentioned once at a conference, and this is just in the last year, and I'm like, how did I never think of it this way? When you talk about affiliate marketing versus search versus email versus display, those are real channels. Affiliate marketing is not a channel. It is a way of buying media, a performance buy. And within affiliate, you have people who do email, people who do search, people who do retargeting, deal sites, loyalty. There's lots of different business models. And so I think people have to kind of like break out of that glass box that they're in and say, if I can structure a deal that's performance-based, that goes under this channel. Those can be business development partnerships. So I think that's where I see the biggest difference is Europe seems to be far more broad in what they will call affiliate versus in the US it seems to be like a box and you can't ever get outside of it.
Yeah,
And I think that really limits opportunities for affiliate managers.
But we're starting to see that too, is like that's the next step for us, at least with our brand, is we're starting to really grow our program and put a focus on growing the program outside of like what people have traditional affiliates in the market. So, you're starting to hit a point where our growth with traditional affiliates, whether they're, your basic list of bloggers that can actually have some kind of an impact, your deal sites, loyalty, whatever they are, we're kind of hitting that threshold where really the only growth there is if a new partner pops up that could work, but are we just running the right offers? Are we pushing the right kind of promotions? But where we're starting to really see growth now is taking folks who are traditionally not an affiliate, but they're willing to operate on a performance model because it's their easiest entry to work with us. So a cart abandonment solution or a refer a friend solution who typically they wouldn't consider themselves an affiliate program. They're going to invoice you, they operate with their monthly minimums and all that, but we're going to say, hey, if you're willing to just come through our program on our network, we can get you up and running within a week and we can test this and then we can figure it out from there. They see quick business, they're willing to jump in. So it kind of keeps the relationship moving forward. And it's a whole nother, you're just growing that channel in a whole nother, truly like a business development angle. And so we're actually kind of restructuring our team a little bit where the guy who to date has been working with me and managing the program, and he manages all affiliates. He's now going to be sort of in this more of like a biz dev role where his job is going to be going out and recruiting these like non-traditional affiliates and getting them in and kind of testing them for a few months. And if they are a sustainable partner that's adding value, they'll kind of now move into this mode where now they're just in our activation planning. So it's kind of like create the new business and then pass it off as an activation tool.
Yeah, I think the word non-traditional affiliate gets thrown around a lot, and I hear a lot of advertisers saying, man, we want more non-traditional or more content affiliates, anything other than what we have now, which is typically loyalty coupon. If you're a retailer, is a big piece of it. Where I see the non-traditional is either more of a biz dev type deal, or really the opportunity that I think people just are not focused on and trying to leverage are these media partners that own technology, and that's what you guys do, right? They aren't owning web properties and driving traffic to their web properties and putting your links up on them. They own technology that does something different, and that to me is kind of the emerging, or that is the non-traditional. The word non-traditional affiliate is just these companies are doing things through technology versus just the traditional way of sticking things on websites and getting traffic.
And they're willing to do it on performance. I mean, as you said before, it is a way of paying. I think a lot of the display top of funnel stuff that has been CRM and click that people are finding, hey, this doesn't work so well. They'd love to pull that stuff down into the performance bucket and just pay for when it works.
And the other way I look at affiliate marketing is, if I were internal at a brand, I would say this is media you cannot go out and buy. There's no agency or display or CPC team that can buy this media. This media is not for sale that way. It is only for sale on a performance basis for the most part. A loyalty company, that's how, there's certainly other options you can do, but this is a form of media that we cannot get any other way.
And in terms of rather having to sign a contract and spend 4 months and figure out how to get paid. So Nick, I know you had some examples we were talking about yesterday, some of the stuff that now you guys are doing with non-traditional that has global implications. You want to talk?
Yeah, sure. So a good example would be we've got a list of athletes that are sponsored athletes for either brand, but we were talking specifically about on the Reebok brand. We launched this great partnership within last year with the UFC. So we've got a bunch of fighters, and they have a website, but they're fighters. They don't manage a website. They have a team that manages a website for them. It may or may not be great quality, but they're trying to really focus and grow their brand as a fighter. And they're under contract with us, and we pay them to represent us in ads and things like that, but they're not necessarily required to try to sell our product through their own channels. But we're realizing the opportunity that's there, and they're realizing the opportunity. But at the end of the day, they're not a retail entity that can buy product and operate like a wholesale account and hold inventory and send it out to folks. So they're trying to think about how can we drive traffic to you, sell your product, and still make money on it. The performance space is like custom made for that, right? So we've got, and if you think about fighters, a lot of them are international. They have a huge international audience. So a great example is Conor McGregor is a fighter who's out of Ireland, and he's got a huge audience in Ireland, but he's also huge kind of everywhere else. He's like a big up-and-comer. They contacted us a few weeks back, right before his last fight earlier in July, and they said, we want to sell your product. And that was kind of how they pitched it to us. And we said, you can't really buy our product and sell it, and they want to drop ship and all these different things. We said, look, why don't you just put a shop button in your nav on his site that you're launching, put in a link, we'll track it, go through our affiliate program, and we'll pay you out. And he ended up winning his fight in a great fashion. And in a couple of days, they saw a huge spike in sales, and they came back to us like, wow, like all we had to do was put a link on our site, and we made a bunch of money this weekend. Yeah, this is like made for them. The one problem is that then you've got fighters who are even bigger in multiple markets, and they've got a site, and so now they're gonna have traffic coming from the U.S. looking to buy, and then they're also gonna have someone sitting in the U.K. that wants to come to buy. Well, do we have a platform that's set up in multiple markets that can do the currency exchange, but also are they smart enough, or what's the right solution to be able to identify where to route the traffic? So we've got an instance, a UK version of our site and a US version of our site. We need to know who you are, where you're coming from, so we can put you on the right site, because we only ship in those countries. So if you're sitting in the UK and you somehow were redirected to the US instance of the site and you try to buy product, we're going to tell you we don't ship to you because you're not in the US.
And the tracking may not work if it's
and as soon as there's a redirect, it could drop your tracking. Right. So there's like a bigger problem to figure out. We've actually got truly global affiliates because they're people with a global audience how do we take care of them and help leverage their traffic, but keep a consistent consumer experience on that end, but also pay out the right way and have the right network solution. That's like a big challenge.
This is a bleeding edge problem that touches all three of you because you have different network partners, you have different agencies, but you have the emergence of whether it's a Yieldify or a Fighter, it's a global affiliate, right? And how are they? A lot of these countries, the merchant teams aren't working even that well together. But now you have this person who sits across, like who works with them and who says, hey, on your site, you should say if you're in the U.S., click here, and maybe then you're that network there. And like it seems like the infrastructure or systems have not evolved to sort of solve that, help a global affiliate. Like you were saying before, there's no one. If you have a merchant that operates in a lot of countries, you don't have this sort of, hey, you sort of make life a lot easier, right? We're your account rep that helps you with all the countries, right?
Yeah. And to that point, one thing that I would encourage anyone that's trying to go abroad is make sure that the people that you're establishing those relationships with are decision makers, that they're higher up the food chain. Like I mentioned earlier, like working with an affiliate manager in the US is different than working with an affiliate manager in the UK. So look at who their boss is and make sure that you're establishing those relationships. And one of the things that I think has been kind of a recurring theme here is that affiliate should really be looked at as performance marketing, right? Pay for performance. And who's making those major decisions are probably someone that's higher up the food chain on the marketing channel. So that's probably one of my biggest recommendations when thinking about going abroad is the fact that you need to establish the relationships with the right people.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important thing for anyone here who operates that to think about in terms of really, again, it's international versus global. And if you're going to have an affiliate that is going to be global, how is that going to work? You could have you could have an infrastructure of multiple platforms, where your analytics aren't even integrated, so you don't even know how that person's doing. Or you could have something like Impact Radius, which is set up and it's seamless, but different people own it. It's unclear, who owns Connor when he transcends from, has a fight and it's big in the U.S. or it's big, there's totally different people. So I think it's an emerging problem that requires a different way of thinking about it. And I can't. I guess I'd ask you, Al, are there merchants, who's doing this the best that you work with? It doesn't sound like anyone's doing it perfectly, but who's got sort of a team that holistically that you've seen that looks across their program well?
It's an interesting question. To be honest, I mean, the ones that are doing it the best do have troops on the ground in every market. Yeah. Right. I wish that my company was better at establishing relationships across borders, but when it comes down to it, certain countries, I mean, they're siloed. Right. When it comes.
So I was just going to ask you: does anyone own the relationship, or is anyone sort of the lead? Like, even if they're in Europe but they work with you in the U.S., does that person own the relationship, or is it still pretty siloed?
Unfortunately, there's way too much disconnect. Yeah. Like, you would not expect that. You're working for the same company, the same brand. You're just in different places. Yeah. So that's once again why it's so important to have a presence in that market. Yeah. Because there is oftentimes disconnect, right? You might have a VP here in the U.S. and then you have the same exact position, but over in the U.K. And they're making completely different decisions. They don't talk to each other at all. Yeah.
In a deal you can reference from the U.K., when you talk to the guy in the U.S., he's like, I don't care what they did over there.
Doesn't matter, right?
I can't do that same deal, or I'm not gonna.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why it's, once again, very important to not only be there, but establish the right relationships.
And how much, I've seen this, how much do people underestimate the value of brand when they're sort of going from one market to another, where, hey, everyone knows us in X, so we're gonna move over to Y, and kind of a startup, over there, and it's different. And I think, what have you guys seen in terms of, I think it's different probably for like an Adidas or a Reebok, but, I remember years ago we talked to a company and they were the biggest sort of SIM card independent mobile in Europe, and they were coming to the US and they wanted to launch this massive affiliate program. And we're like, no one's heard of you here, and no one does that. So that's not, and they just thought it was going to sort of take off and everyone's going to do it. I'm like, that's like a totally new thing here. I mean, no one will even I don't think it matters that you operate that in Europe.
Yeah. So like, I'm a sales guy when it comes down to it, right? Partnerships manager. That's a friendly way to say sales. When we first established ourselves in the U.S., the number one way to like build rapport and make a name for yourself is to name drop who you work with.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., we'd be like, oh yeah, we work with Marks and Spencers, we work with Debenhams, which in the U.K. that means a lot.
It's like Walmart and-
Holy crap, you guys work with them? Like that's insane. In the U.S., people are like, we don't even know who that is, right? So from a brand perspective, looking at the way that you represent yourself and you're positioned in different markets, it's the same thing when it comes down to it. Like there's different perception in every market, and that's why you need someone that's has local knowledge.
Right.
At the end of the day.
I think a lot of times too, like a good case study, even if you say, okay, this is what we did for a brand that maybe you're not familiar with, they're a top 10 retailer, that helps. But then having a case study, showing the results that you can deliver, that at least can probably help a little bit. This is how we operate. These are the kind of results we can deliver. But I agree. I mean, obviously being Adidas, it's a very global brand. It makes it a lot easier to come into a market. If you're a brand in the U.S. that's well known and you're not known in the U.S., that's where I'd say, doing your legwork, just say, okay, great, we're going into this market. Can we please have a month to do some research and market validation on our own? Because somebody might say, we've already got, look at all these numbers, we paid this guy and we got all these numbers, they're all pie in the sky and broad. You want to find out more about affiliates. So finding a consultant or agency, who are the top 10 affiliates in the UK market? Who's the contact I can get there? Call them. Hi, this is the brand we are. Have you ever heard of us? What do you think the response would be? You could even go as far as going in those markets and doing like a test buy, like a placement buy, maybe an email and a homepage placement for a week, just to see what their response is. You could track it through your analytics. I mean, if you're already using impact rates in the U.S., you could do a little side deal easily and just see like what did we get here, and if the numbers start to kind of show potential or go in the direction that you think, you may have to kind of lower, or maybe you can increase your estimates, but having more factual evidence instead of kind of just like these are stats that we pulled out of Forrester research or e-consultancy or something.
Yeah, unless you are a global brand like Adidas or Reebok, I think that an affiliate or performance as a launch strategy in a new market is really tough if you're thinking that that's going to get you volume. Because you can come into a market and spend PPC in 5 minutes. It's hard to just come into a market and spend affiliate because you need to get these partners to give you shelf space. And if you don't have a name, you're a risk. And I've seen that time and time again where, as part of our launch plan, it's like this maybe should be part of your 6-month plan after you get some brand awareness. I think people always perceive, we have that problem too when we're managing an affiliate program that's going great. People are like, great, how do we double that? I'm like, well, if you want to start paying people double the commissions, you're probably not going to like the ROI as much. And
yeah, I don't think affiliate should be your beachhead, right?
Yeah,
I think
right.
that should come in after you've started doing more of your corporate marketing, maybe your display and your PPC so that somebody, you already know you have customers, you already know you have some commerce activity, and then come in with the affiliate after in kind of the second wave. Maybe.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, you guys have the name, and I'm sure it's still not totally easy when you're jumping into a new market too, right?
Yeah, well, actually, the biggest challenge with us is actually it's internal. It's much less of trying to recruit an affiliate partner.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're familiar with us, but for us, it's what's the right partner, and if it's something that actually has like a very niche audience, we have different, even things like our inventory is different in every market. Mm-hmm. So we might not carry this soccer boot in the U.S. because it's a really European specific looking soccer boot that somebody's wearing over there. So you kind of, even just little operational things like that, it's really hard for.
It's a football boot.
Right. So it's really hard for us to just say we're gonna launch in this market and we've got the right product for them, so we're gonna have a successful business. The folks that are shopping there maybe don't want the product that you actually have for sale, and you have to actually think about, hey, strategically, when we're gonna go in and start talking to this particular market, what's actually selling versus what do they want to buy, and do we have the right folks? So maybe that's less relevant for like a technology partner who's serving your brand, because they're going to serve it and the audience is going to decide what they want to buy. But if you're trying to think from a recruiting standpoint, we want to work with people that have this type of an audience. Well, can we actually deliver to the consumer? Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels. Yeah.
So Todd, who have you seen that's doing it well? on a global basis?
Well, that's tough. I think there, when you get to brands that you kind of think of as global, they do have the easiest way, a path to success. The problem is, like I can remember back in the days when Buy.com went into the UK. It's a great URL, and they were very large, consumer electronics in the US. And they went in there, spent a lot of money, and ended up pulling out of that market within a year. So it's like I said, it's not as easy as it sounds. I think it's gotten a lot easier today. The e-commerce platforms are more accommodating to a global strategy. You can have one website that you can pick a language, you can pick a currency, and inventory and everything can change, sizes and things like that. So you can have kind of a single entry point, pick your country, pick your language, your fulfillment, things like that. It's certainly gotten a lot easier, which I think can give an advantage to a brand that maybe would have been impossible to leverage before. I agree that you got to invest with people in the market, but it's tough. It's tough. What the problem is too, especially coming from the U.S., is the U.S. is a really big market. So when you go into the U.K. or Germany or France, which are the largest markets in Europe, they're still much, much smaller than the U.S. Mm-hmm. So what you might be thinking if your affiliate program does in the U.S., you might have your e-commerce not be that big in another country for a year or two. So that can be challenging for a company to grasp that those results are that small, even though they're not that.
Yeah. And like from the brand perspective, I would even say we're not doing it that well going globally. I mean, and our big thing was the platform part of it. We've got one major network we work with in the U.S. and we've got some other smaller ones, but we kind of shared that knowledge with our European counterparts, and we gave a recommendation on who they could use. And at the end of the day, they had their own decision makers. Kind of goes back to your point, Alec. They said, like, we take your recommendation, thank you, we're going to use this other solution, which I couldn't tell them not to. And now we're running into the problem we just talked about, where we have true brand partners that have a global audience, and we can't satisfy them in multiple markets.
So they have to join your program 3 times. Yeah.
Right.
Or even then, it's not going to track.
Yeah.
Because they send a link through network A,
To
network C.
site A, yeah.
Right. So now we need to try to find like an intermediate layer or something. Yeah, where it's a huge mess right now, and they're starting to come in really quickly. Where a lot of partners are saying, "Hey, like we saw that so and so was driving traffic to you. Like, hey, we saw that this fighter just had a link and drove back to you. Like, is that a performance model? Can we get in on that?" And the answer would be, if it were just you, yeah, we could probably figure it out. But now that we've got 20 of you asking to do the same thing, we don't have a solution that fits. Yeah. So if we could have kind of, had a little more influence in the early going when they were launching in these markets, it probably would have been a lot easier. Now, the good thing is, for everybody else moving forward, it will be easy because they're using the model of the Center of Excellence rolls out in the market, so they're going to use that platform. So, for everybody that's in Europe and then everyone else that they expand to, they've got it figured out. But that leaves a huge gap in the U.S., and because we're so much bigger, it's not something that can be overlooked.
Yeah, this isn't international, but for one of our mutual clients, Quidsy, which owns diapers.com, soap.com. So when you go to any of those brands, you can navigate across a dozen brands. Mm-hmm. It's very frustrating for an affiliate if they send traffic to soap.com and they make a purchase on diapers.com. So we have the ability to do what's called cross-campaign tracking. So you can say all these campaigns, even though they have separate pixels and separate campaigns and separate ads and separate commissions, if the affiliate is joined to all of them, they send a click to campaign A and they convert through campaign C, it will track. And that, I think, is the same with international. You come into Reebok and you say, I came from Germany and I want to shop from the German language store and pay in euros. That's great. But if you came from the UK and you're maybe going to send something to your parents in Germany or your brother in Germany, and you navigate away from the UK store into that, the tracking breaks. And so it's important. After the fact, it's a little harder, but to kind of figure out how's this going to look if it's successful and it gets really big, because there's so many moving pieces. It's hard to figure that out ahead of time. So that's where agencies come in.
Well, the theme I'm taking away from this is, the global e-com platforms like Demandware and Hybris and the global tracking platforms have allowed people to be global. And if you listen to everyone here on all sides of the spectrum, I think the perception of these programs rolling out globally and being seamlessly, I think this is a little bit sort of the front of the house versus what's going on in the back of the kitchen. That this stuff is not, it probably is more international at this point than it is global. I think one company that's set up to do it well, but is Apple, that's a very unusual circumstance because they're truly global. They have a global affiliate program, and they manage the team in California manages all of their key global affiliates with sort of local language support in each country, but they know who these partners are and who they are on a global basis. But I think that's a rare exception.
And they got $200 billion in the bank, so
and they have a huge,
might be able to
huge
huge
team. I think that's the other thing. I
That's
think
the thing.
Azos.
They've got resources.
Yeah, Azos I think does a great job. I've heard in Europe, but you're talking about 5 or 6 people in house, on the affiliate team. And to your point, I mean, you're lucky if you get half of a person here on a U.S. program. So it's not surprising that there's not a coordinated sort of effort around that. Great. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. I figured to open up for any questions to anyone in the audience.
They want to give you a mic because they're recording this.
Yeah.
She's coming.
All right,
with the
she's
mic.
coming.
We can definitely hear you.
It's not that we can't hear you from all the way back.
I can't see you, these lights are blinding, but.
Okay, guys, there isn't anything right after this. Do you want us to do like another 10 minutes or so?
As long as
We'll
there's
just until the questions
Yeah.
are done. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
We're
you.
locking the doors. You're going to be here.
Hey guys, my name is David, and I'm a founder of a little startup that has a mobile app. And I wanted to ask if any of you guys have had any experience, specifically internationally, with in-app affiliate programs, or working with an API or anything, because it does seem like it solves like a lot of the problems that you might be dealing with internationally, like currency or like inventory, because it lets the developer do all the heavy lifting of like taking the right currency and seeing like whether inventory matches like whatever we're offering. Like for instance, like we're only active in Italy right now, and we have like relatively pretty good traffic and like high intent to buy, but there aren't that many interfaces that we can interact with that will connect like with the mobile app. For instance, like in Italy right now, it's pretty much just Apple, like, and with their iTunes program, and it's super easy, and it lets us developers do all the work that would be probably on your shoulders, like trying to explain like, oh no, you got to connect like this inventory to this other one and send the right tracking account, et cetera. And so I was wondering if any of you guys had any experience like with mobile in-app affiliate programs.
Yeah, well, our technology has SDKs, so for iOS, Windows, and Android. And the problem with a lot of these app tracking tools is that they can't then pay a commission, right? That they can track and tell what happened to your app. Our technology, you can set up so if I'm your affiliate and I drive an app install, that might not earn me a commission until they open it, or until they create an account, or until they buy something, or get to a certain level, or whatever in-app activity that you say, okay, that's what we value. So you can pay just on an install, maybe less, or you can pay more based on the activity that you favor, or you can have ongoing payments based on in-app purchases. It's certainly possible to do all of that. It's really where we kind of focus is with advertisers, especially brands now that are looking to also have an app too, right? So, Target sells online, but they also have an app. They want to get people using that, so they work with some affiliates to get app installs, because that helps drive in-store activity as well, so that they kind of look at it more holistically.
I think we're still at like the infancy of app affiliate programs when it comes down to it. I think we'll see that evolve. Like for us personally, we're not doing anything that's in-app at the moment, but we're not far off from it. I mean, the technology's there. It's just about evolving and getting to that point. Obviously, mobile's on the rise, right, when it comes down to it. But each market, once again, is going to be different when it comes to an app affiliate program. That's why you got to be there. You got to you got to network with the right people, because each country that you go to, there's going to be someone that's doing it differently. So yeah, I mean, I think that we're close. Like it's obviously going to happen. Like it's going to be more prevalent, but for the moment right now, it's still in its infancy.
There's a weird dynamic going on, and this is similar to what happened with mobile tracking, is that when mobile first started happening, the retailers were very slow to get the tracking in because we're not paying on something, and when we fix this, we'll pay on it. And I think then the tide sort of shifted and everyone got mobile tracking. And I see the exact same thing going on with app tracking now, where you have a client, they're like, give us a business case for this. And you're like, well, you're not paying people for, they go to your mobile site, you're telling them to download the app and order from you, and you're not paying them for that. So that will have to change because affiliates will start pulling out and not working with programs that do that. But it's literally following almost the same thing. I think Todd and I were at a conference like 4 years ago, and half the large retailers were like, "Wow, we're not doing mobile tracking because, well, that's going to cost us extra money." And everyone's like, "What?" Like that, and it's following that same progression. People are a little penny wise, pound foolish in the short term around that. But what happens is the publishers start dropping out of these programs because they see that they don't perform.
Well,
So
and some publishers have their own mobile app or mobile friendly, and they're going to check which advertisers are equally mobile friendly. And so when you go onto the mobile experience, you might not be there where you are on their web experience. So they're not.
Someone will start a website or list everyone is not doing it. The market tends to fix these things in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
Yeah.
far off though.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Any other questions? Got one over here.
Hi, I'm a UK publisher, also lived in Italy for a while, and not really a question, but more of a backing up of what you guys said, both Todd and Alex, who, as you say, one, remember the UK is a tenth of the size of the US, so people come in there expecting to have these results that equate with what they've got over here, and it's just not going to happen. And the other thing is, yeah, culturally, it is massively different. We speak the same language, well, we speak a similar language, and that's about it. And the other thing to remember is the rest of Europe is as different as we are to yourselves. So you go from UK, you go to Italy, and the culture is different. I lived there for 3 years, and I just about got the hang of it. But I think it was it you, Alex, that was saying? Yeah, it's saying you need people on the ground or someone that you really can partner with to make that happen. But just well done, guys. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, people, for some reason, in the marketing industry, in the agency industry, people are afraid to say what they don't do. There is a bias towards, yeah, we do that, and we'll figure it out later, rather than, no, we don't do that, but, we have a partner that runs, we run a program where we run the whole US part, and there's an agency in 6 countries that runs the EU part, and we work with them, coordinate them, but we don't pretend that we can do what they do, and they don't pretend that we can do. And it's weird, I've never understood. I think that's the agency model, right? It's sell it and mark it up and figure out someone else to do it later, but it's a little dangerous.
Yeah, a big piece of my job at our company is making sure we don't say yes to things we can't do. Because, salespeople want to sell. And so we always want to make sure that we're really in a comfortable spot with what a company is looking for. We may intend to get there, but we don't want to be getting there after they expected us to get there unless those expectations were set up front. So it is hard to say no, and you want to try to put your best foot forward. But I agree, the cultures are very different. I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in the UK since the late 90s, and as much as affiliate marketing it has similarities, they are vastly different in their approach. The one thing about the UK market is it's as if the entire United States industry were in New York City. It's so much easier to network. It's so much easier to have personal relationships. It's so much easier to have a drink with someone. And when people from the UK come over here, it's like, unless you're at a conference, people are in every
There's no
city
logical,
in the United
yeah.
States, and it's bewildering to think that way. It's I always am envious of the UK just because of the culture there is much more tighter.
And I think that's a size thing as well. So I think, as Alex was saying, you feel you're dealing with someone that can make more decisions because they're high, but it's because it's a smaller company. So there isn't the big structure all the way down that there's the president, the vice president, the assistant vice president to the executive president to whatever. You're often dealing with the guy that's one below director level. So, yeah. Anyway, well done, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. We'll hang around for a few minutes too, and then I think the keynote starts in about 10 or 15 minutes if everyone's going to head over. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.